And if you go to their website, what is one of the videos they have are if you go to their YouTube channel, you would find a video about Cat Park, a noir adventure to inoculate players against disinformation. And we were talking with Arch about this yesterday on the show, about how, you know, he's from Norway, and he's like, you'd be surprised how easy it is to get a government grant for these projects. And he's like, you should look into it. I was like, I should go get a grant for side scroller, small business grant. They're just handing out money, right? So I went to the US grant website and actually just searched video games. And I found this yesterday, and I can't believe the domino that this has created along the way. This was a post from that was on the government website. It says, I said, everyone is laughing at Norway and the EU for funding Dustborn, but a quick search shows the US also provided $275,000 of funding for a new counter disinformation game here. And if you look at the timing on this, this was in 2021 at the height of COVID and everything that's going on here. And the idea was that they wanted to counter disinformation along the way. Now, several outlets have actually done some real quality journalism, and they found actually the game that this spawned. Have you guys heard about this?
I'm not surprised at all. We know that the government funded social media influencers, I'm not surprised at all. It's so disturbing.
Yeah, it is disturbing. It absolutely is disturbing. And this is a game that was released, a game called Cat Park. Cat Park is the name of the game. And they are I just want to pull up the game itself, as I think it's important to showcase this game. This is a browser-based video game, and you can kind of see what's happening here. Obviously designed for mobile phones, and we'll kind of get into the itself. So it says, "Welcome to Cat Park. This game is best experienced with audio enabled." We'll turn it off for now. So the good news is that you've got a brand new apartment, and the bad news is that you are from out of town and you have no friends. Okay, so it's like a kind of a, it's meant to take you on a journey along the way. I have a brief rundown here from Moby Games here. This is released in October 2022. So they got the $275,000. It was done through Tilt Studios, and it was meant to be on the browser and iPhone along the way. But this game is meant to counter misinformation and disinformation. The reason it's called Cat Park is that you have this cat park, and they're putting various things around. I was watching a video from John Trent from that park place, and he gave a really good summary of it. You have this cat park, and the government is misappropriating funds, and you don't like it. And the message is that the idea is that you read things online, and it's seen as misinformation against the government. And so, so that's the whole idea, is that this is meant to educate you to recognize misinformation against government messaging. That's the whole premise of the game itself. As you raise your eyebrow there, Logan.
That sounds a little 1940s Germany-ish.
To say the least.
Yeah, or any totalitarian government. Even when I'm not exactly sure what happened with the tomatoes in the Dustborn game, but it reminded me of my great uncle who in Cuba was thrown into jail because he gave some bananas to a neighbor.
What?
Because those bananas that grew in his yard didn't belong to him. They belonged to the government. And, I grew up asking my mom all the time, how did all this happen? Cuba was not a third world country, and it just happened. It almost happened overnight. People would turn on each other, and there's all this propaganda. And so I do have a huge reaction to this kind of stuff, because my family's been through it. It's happened time and time again in our history. And I'm getting so tired of trying to sound the warning bell and shake so many people who are just living in denial that this is the path that we're on. And yeah, it's really frustrating, but I'm not going to stop because it's too important.
Good.
Well, I have some more information about Cat Park, and once again, this is the money that was spent. The $275,000 was to developing this game, and this is from the Tilt Studio website. So this is them speaking about their own game. It says, in Cat Park, your city is building a park just for cats. Your goal is, of course, to stop that from happening, because who would want a park just for cats? Using disinformation tactics like emotional language and polarization, you turn the public against the park. So there you go. I was a little messed up on the original story of it. Sorry, that was misinformation. Hopefully the government doesn't come knocking on my door.
But isn't that something that cat ladies want?
We need more cat parks. So the background, Cat Park is based on active inoculation theory pioneered by the University of Cambridge Social Decision Making Lab. Much as vaccinations work by exposing subjects to an inoculation strain of a virus in order to trigger an immune response, empirical studies indicate the controlled experience of disinformation through a game can build cognitive dissonance to disinformation in the real world. This concept is also known as pre-bunking, rather than simply waiting for lies to spread and then debunking them with a fact check. The goal of Cat Park is to proactively educate about common disinformation techniques so that players are better prepared to spot fake news no matter what form it takes.
In other words, brainwashing. That's what it. That's what
Wow.
they're saying. That's a fancy way to say they're brainwashing. Go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you are correct. 1,000%.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's
And
propaganda.
it's sad because it's aimed towards young people who don't know, children or young, mostly young people. And it's so insidious.
That's gonna hit young ladies, especially because cats. That's what it's directed to, and that is just horrible, especially at such a young age.
So here's the gameplay. Over the course of the game, the player will travel throughout the city and meet an eclectic cast of characters united in the aim of bringing down the cat park. The players will go through different mini games that expose the player to various ways disinformation can be created and spread on social media. After the player unleashes their disinformation, they also learn about counter disinformation techniques and the benefits and limitations of different approaches. The game is designed to be completed in roughly 15 to 20 minutes. So 15 to 20 minutes to brainwash your kids, y'all. This is the U.S. government doing this now. Straight up propaganda.
Shocker, said no one ever.
Yeah. Oh, while these games are available to any interested players, they are recommended for use in classroom settings.
Say what?
Framed by basic context on information literacy, a sample lesson plan is available.
Like the thing about this whole freedom of speech, disinformation stuff, it's what's really evil about it is we need to a place to be able to discuss. That is how our brains learn. Like you literally have to have a place of discourse to be able to gain knowledge, and so when people, and I really reacted to a tweet earlier today from a journalist who used the word misinformation. I think it was either misinformation or disinformation, because that's like become a trigger word for me now. I feel like as soon as I hear that word, I know two things. Either one, you are extremely misinformed because so much of this disinformation or misinformation has been proven to be correct, over the last couple of years. So you're just really uninformed, or you are informed, what you're saying is a lie, and you are actively pushing people to, you're calling truth a lie, which I think is pretty much like the worst thing you can do, like as a human being, because people need to be able to seek truth. They need to be able to expand their knowledge. They need to be able to talk about this with other people. Even if something isn't right, you should be able to discuss it. Having like this whole oh no, don't even discuss it, it's disinformation, don't even have a discourse about it, is so dangerous. And it's dangerous for society, but it's also just dangerous for our brains. We're teaching children to not think critically.
Well,
let the government think for you. Yeah, that'll go well.
The government hates the truth, because if you know the truth, you're not going to believe the government. You're not going to fall in line and just do what these people tell you to do.
There's more layers to this. Do you want to keep going?
No.
Because these are very basic Google searches that I'm doing right now. This is not a whole lot of heavy lifting when it comes to these games. But this game Cat Park was designed, and I got this information from the website, the Tilt Studio website. Okay, on the bottom of it, it talks about the game itself and the person that did the illustrations for it. Okay, and it says this game was developed in collaboration with the U.S. Department of State's Global Engagement Center and the University of Cambridge. Gusmanson designed and developed the game, and the illustrations were done by Felicity Kiesling. Okay, so who is Felicity Kiesling? Well, quick search about this. This is Felicity Kiesling here, a 2D illustrator and painting, right? But if you look a little bit deeper on a search on DuckDuckGo or Google or whatever, you would find that she is linked to Games for Change. Are you familiar with Games for Change at all? Anyone ever heard of this before? You are.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Okay. So founded in 2004, Games for Change is a 501c3 nonprofit that empowers game creators and social innovators to drive real-world impact through games and immersive media. We convene industry experts through our annual Games for Change festival, inspire youth to explore civic issues and STEAM skills through our student challenge, and showcase leading impact-focused games and immersive experiences through live arcades to the public. And if you go to their website, what is one of the videos they have are if you go to their YouTube channel, you would find a video about Cat Park, a noir adventure to inoculate players against disinformation. Oddly enough, ironically, I guess, comments are turned off, right? As you would expect here. So this Games for Change is more or less an extension of the government. So,
well, I mean, if you have kids in school, you know that this is what the government is pushing. I mean, I deal with this all the time when my kids come home and they tell me what's taught in their classes. So, I mean, it's not like it's something big secret, but I mean, obviously it relates to this corner of the internet. I mean, focusing on games, but it's just, like these people need to be called out for what they are, which is evil. I know that's like pretty hardcore, but it's the truth. It's evil.
You're right.
It's not going to people need to feel like this is absolutely unacceptable, or it's just going to keep going and going, and they're going to be doing it under the guise that they're empathetic, and it's just it's evil, and it's going to destroy our country, and it's already destroying our country and destroying the world. So what are you going to do about it, guys? Stand up.
Well, let's go even deeper here, shall we?
Oh, there's more.
Oh, geez.
Because
I don't know if I can take more.
This only takes a quick Google search, because we're not done, folks. Hey, gather around, spread the word, and spread the video and live stream, because we're going deep. Because if you go to Felicity Kiesling's LinkedIn, you would see that she was very excited about Cat Park winning the best civics game at this year's Games for Change. Okay, this is in 2023, so a year ago. But she's more or less quoting Jillian Nyland. So who is Jillian Nyland? Let me tell you. Jillian Nyland is an award-winning educational games producer. I've worked on games for the UN, the WHO, NATO, and the U.S. State Department. These games are for a global audience that have been translated to 24 languages. And she's an online influence expert. I have academic publications in Nature and World Medicine and Health Policy and more. I currently work with the Disarm Foundation on tactics and techniques in online influence. So this person literally is a government shill designed to, quote unquote, combat disinformation. That is their entire career. So there we are. That's
Master
what
of
we're doing.
BS.
Yes, a master of BS, 1000%. An online influence expert here. You think you're going to stop when you got out your shovel and you're digging, but you keep on digging and you keep on finding this along the way. It's alarming, to say the least. How much goes into to all this? It's scary. Yeah. Des, you have any just overall thoughts? I mean, That's why we're talking about Dustborn, but this is so much deeper than Dustborn. And I'd be curious to see what other games this Jillian Nyland has worked on along the way.
I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking like, this is why this is all so important, you know. And I do get really. Listen, I understand why so many people are quiet. I get it, like that it's scary. They worry about losing their jobs, etc. But we're just too far gone now. Like, are you going to stand up and call out this crap in your life, or are you, or not? Because we really just need people to just shut this stuff down. I'm really at a point where I'm just like fed up with it. I really, really am. And we were just at a crucial point. And I feel like it has gotten better. I feel like people are starting to call stuff out. And I think that we just need to, I mean, look, I'm not like advocating for violence or anything, but we need to not mince our words, you know. And if something is evil and somebody's is pushing evil stuff, it needs to be called that. And people need to feel pressured to shut this stuff down. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's reaching anybody that's watching, but I know I've talked to a lot of people who really are afraid to make their voices heard. And the only way that any of this stops is if people make their voices heard. So
I agree. But one thing I will say is, from my personal experience, I've been around a lot of people that said, oh, maybe you shouldn't address any of this. Maybe it's too spicy. You don't want to lose these friends or lose these followers and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, I'm done. I'm exactly like that. I'm done. I can't sit around and watch these evil people take over this, as I call it, once great country, because right now we're in a pretty poor place. And yes, it's evil. And as a Christian man, I just can't sit by and let, Satan alone just take over this country when we were just on such a good path. Remember the 80s and the 90s? There's a reason we go back to that nostalgia, because it was a better time. And I think that so many of us are now just standing up because we don't want this country or this world in general just to go down that dark path. And we want to fight and bring back what's good and what's right.
And so many of us have children. We're invested in the future of this country. We're invested. And that's the problem, is a lot of people aren't having kids. They don't, not that you have to have kids to be invested, but it's going to like boost you up by
Right.
a huge degree if you do. But like, that's the problem too, is so many people are just nihilistic. They don't care. They just don't care. Well, I care. And I know there's a lot of people who do care. So, I do believe there's more of us than there are of them.